Mike, check 1 2 1 2. It's the Y2K collector. And I gotta say, today was a very surprising day when it comes to trades. For one, I wound up going to a store that I didn't think that I would go to. Um, but I went there, um, and initially it didn't look like I was going to be able to trade anything in. But I had about 7 items that the store owner wanted. And when I gave him my items, at first I didn't really see anything that I would want to trade for because I'm not trying to trade in a bunch of games to get a bunch of games. A big part of the purge is really downsizing the number of games that are in the actual collection. So a big part of it is whenever I go do these trades is I'm usually looking to walk out with a lot less games than I brought in. In this case, because the store owner only took certain games, um, I wasn't able to offload as many games as I would like. He did take some of the better games that I had, not all, but some, and through that, I was able to pick up a copy of Fatal Frame 2 on the PS2, and this copy is like minty fresh, as you can see. Um, He wanted 100 for it, as you can see. I think it goes for I think price charting has this at like 95 bucks, but I'm okay, just because of how clean of a game it is. And I don't know much about Fatal Frame. I think I saw Radical Reggie do a video on these games. He loves like survival horror games, especially on the PS2 and stuff. So but I think in this game you actually like have to take photographs of ghosts. That's how you play the game. I'm not sure. Someone can let me know down in the comments. But I have been adding to the survival horror games. Even like I've been adding to it. I don't know what it is. I think what it was I started to play Saw on the PlayStation 3, and it was like it wasn't necessarily scary, but it was intriguing. And I thought the graphics were pretty good on that game. So it's kind of opened me up a little bit to like the Fatal Frames, the Saws, the Silent Hills, the Resident Evils, things like that. So I no longer like just completely push these away. I'm intrigued by them. So I picked this one up. And then another one that he had was Lost Kingdoms 2 on the GameCube. Now, um, when I saw this game, again, this was another intriguing one for me. It is an RPG. But I kind of looked up some gameplay footage of this before I picked this up. I also tried to look up some comps. I usually just try to make sure that the pricing is pretty much on the level. And what I happened to notice with the Lost Kingdoms 2 is that a lot of the copies online don't have the manual. So when he had it here, he actually did have the manual with his copy. And again, the manual is like in pristine condition. The disc is in really good condition as well. So this was a really good condition copy. I saw copies online for 140, no manual. With the manual, I saw some copies listed for 179. I don't think anyone's paying 180 bucks for this game. You guys can let me know down in the comments. This is probably like a $140 to $150 game solid. But both of these games were really good pickups. I was able to downsize a little bit and still get some decent value back with two really great games from the 6th generation. So these two just kind of add to the pickups that I've been able to make this week, which includes Spider-Man, Contra. Yeah, so far I've been adding some pretty sweet gems to the collection. And when you think about the two PlayStation 2 games, it's about 120. Kingdoms is about 150. That's 270. Spider-Man was another 100. That's 370. And then Contra Hard Corps is 140. So roughly $500 in 2 days that was added in value to the collection off the strength of games that I just really either don't want anymore, or I'm not going to play, or were given to me for free, because a lot of the games that I've traded in were given to me for free at GameStop. So and the great thing is I got rid of like 50, 60, 100 games for 5 solid games, and then behind that added another two really solid PlayStation 2 games to the collection, one of which I didn't realize was kind of like a hack and slash like adventure game, and then Tenchu, which is just a great stealth ninja game as well. So some really great titles being added to the collection this week. I am stoked for what has come in so far. The next chapter is going to be tomorrow, when I actually try to get rid of the rest of the games that I actually have, that I'm trying to get rid of out of the collection. So I have another appointment tomorrow where hopefully I can kind of offload some more games to continue downsizing the collection, while still just adding some pretty dope games to the collection. And yeah, just downsizing and adding some great value for me is what it's about. I still collect retro games. I know there's a big push towards emulation. I know that there's a lot of really cool devices coming out that are allowing people to take a lot of systems with them on the go. And I'm not hating on those. I'm a fan of, a lot of those systems that do emulation, but I'm just a fan of the old school, man. I'm a fan of the old school original artifacts, because one day these are going to be original artifacts. And I think a big part of the joy that I get from collecting video games, especially retro games, is just sticking to what I know I like. Um, I think there would be a sense of emptiness if I was just collecting all types of crap just to collect it, which is what I've done in the past. But once I started to take the curation approach, once I started to take the approach of, you know what, I don't need to get a whole set of anything. I don't need to get a whole library of anything. I don't need to get all the games in this series, or I can just get the games that I like, or I can just get the games that I find. Um, and I'm cool with that. I think once I started taking that approach, it definitely became a lot more fun, because there's never anything that I'm looking at in my collection that I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have got that, because I appreciate everything that I get, because they're all stuff that I want. So and they're all stuff that I want to keep, which is really, I think, a big part of the reason why it's hard for me to sell some of the more expensive stuff. The only things that I think I would get rid of from my collection at this point would be probably some of my big box special edition Switch games. Those will probably be like some of the things to go out of the collection, but we still got to see. Still got about 5, 6 weeks left in the year, so we'll see what happens. But and we still got the rest of this week to go. And like I said, next week I'm gonna be in a whole other state. I'm gonna be spending Black Friday in a whole other state. So got some really cool stuff that'll be happening next week, and I'm gonna make a video on that. And trust me, I'm gonna be putting together a video to try and show you guys all these finds when I was out in the field making these pickups. So stay tuned. Hopefully you're having a great week so far, and I'll catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy. Oh, by the way, for those of you who decided to hang around, dude, what is the deal with the service these days? Since 20, like when 2020 hit, myself, like a lot of people, I became a very good cook, a very good chef, because I had to be, right? There were no restaurants you could go to. Everything was closed. And in that process, I learned like how to cook things exactly the way I like them, which is good and bad. The bad part is that now when I go out to restaurants, I find myself unsatisfied, or I find myself saying I could have made this better. And we went out tonight to a very popular chain. I'm not going to say the chain because I don't want to seem like I'm bashing them, but we went to a very popular chain. The prices were like 15 to 20% more than what they were the last time I went there. The service was half as good as it was the last time I was there, if not less. And the overall experience was just subpar, yet I'm paying more for it. And I'm just like, is this what it's like going out these days? Like, is this what, like, and in my mind, I'm like, no wonder no one's going out to eat. One, no one can afford it. Two, it's not worth it. It's just not a good experience. It could just be me. Maybe it's just in my area, but let me know what you guys think about that. I mean, have you guys noticed a drop off in service that coincides with an increase in price? It just doesn't make sense. But that's my little cliff note for the evening. You guys have a good evening. I'm gonna go ahead and try to beat Blasphemous. Take it easy.